welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, we're kicking off a new series.
Yeah.
This time looking at great engineering universities.
So there's this university, you may have heard of them. I believe it's called the Pennsylvania State University. I think
That
some
is
people
correct.
I think some people might call it Penn State. I'm not super familiar with this one. I've never heard of them personally.
Absolutely. So on full disclosure, when we were talking about doing this, I suggested MIT, who we mention basically every episode. And Luke actually suggested Penn State, since it is my old stomping grounds, which was very considerate of him. So that is why we're going with this one first. I was not going to pass up that opportunity.
And it turns out it's actually a pretty good school. Which
it is okay at what it does.
Which clearly made a mistake by granting you access into their hallowed halls.
It was probably all that big teacher money that my parents had to bribe them with.
I'm sure. So I have 3 questions I'd like to start this off with, James. You being an alum.
Okay.
So my first question, what is a Nittany lion?
It's basically like a mountain lion, right?
But why is it called a Nittany lion?
Oh, I don't know. Why is it called a Nittany
lion?
I
don't know. I'm asking you.
Oh, I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay.
But I know there was I don't think they exist anymore. I think they were all dead.
Okay.
But I think we have a stuffed one in the library.
Okay. Next question.
Okay.
Why is it called Happy Valley?
How could you not be happy when you're there?
That's the terrible answer. So you really don't know why it's called Happy Valley.
Do you know why?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Oh, well, you need to have these answers for me. I don't know why it's called Happy Valley.
Oh, I don't know any of this, right? And then my third and final question is, why do they have the largest university ice cream store in the planet? The Creamery, I think it's called.
Oh, the Creamery is so good. If you haven't been there, I would stop by, get the Peachy Paterno. It is outstanding. Oh, it is so good.
But why?
Well, think about it. Like, they're a huge agricultural school, right? And so they have one of my reasons to go there is because they have a bajillion cows, if that's what you're into. So I think that has a lot to do with it, so that you have the whole agricultural side and then the whole processing side, and it's just kind of ballooned into its own thing.
Okay. I have a really bizarre fun fact about the Creamery later.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. All right. So to kick things off, should we talk a little bit, meaning a lot of it, about the history of Penn State?
I think we have to, James. Shoot.
Okay. So I tried to keep this mostly engineering related, which fortunately that's basically what the school's built around. So it kind of helps out here. So way back in 1854, the Pennsylvania legislature granted a charter to the Farmers High School. So that's always a good start,
so
right?
Started as a high school?
Yeah. So the purpose was for the school to adopt a system of instruction which shall embrace those departments of all sciences which have practical or theoretical bearings on agriculture. So again, all about agriculture.
Top of your head, you remembered that from...
Well, I saved that as a quote because it was so, awe-inspiring or something. But again, this was all about agriculture and things of that sort. So in February of 1855, the 22nd, this officially became the founding day of what would become Penn State, when they got a whopping $25,000 along with an additional pledge of $25,000, plus some funds that were raised. And this was used to build the main building on 200 acres in Center County, which is basically smack in the center of Pennsylvania, for those of you who don't know. The first class there, fun fact, was 69 students, and they were admitted 4 years later in February of 1859.
Another fun fact, the main building was actually constructed by students themselves.
Was it really?
Yeah, I don't think entirely, but I think it was a part of the education. They're like, you know what we're going to do to teach you agriculture? You're going to go out there and I'm going to teach you how to build a barn.
Yeah,
I'm fairly certain that. And another fun fact, there's this thing, there's a sundial somewhere on the campus.
Okay.
And the theory is it's the geographic center of Pennsylvania, like exactly the center of Pennsylvania, XYZ, all it's not.
That's interesting.
It's folklore, as we call
It
it.
does sound like folklore to me. Do you think the 69 students that were in the first class, they were like, you're admitted because you're strapping young men and you can build this barn for us?
I'm assuming it was a bunch of Amish kids is my guess.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. Okay, so in 1960, Evan Pugh was selected as the first head of the Farmers High School. So that's nice. And all of these names that I'm going to mention, if you go to Penn State, if you're familiar with the area, like the buildings are all named after these people. The streets are all named after these people. Very, very focused on the school. So at the time of Pugh's appointment, fewer than 12 universities offered a bachelor's degree in engineering and produced fewer than 200 total graduates combined across those 12 schools. And most of them, engineering wasn't like its own thing. Like you would have a class in engineering while you were focusing on something else.
Gotcha.
So in Pugh's time there, most of the engineering programs focused exclusively on developing skills within civil engineering. But if you think about it, like back in the 1860s, this would be like canals and railroads.
They needed
and
roads and railroads and all kinds of stuff.
Right. It was all about infrastructure. And, we were still connecting all of the states together. We were all still going out west. So it all makes sense that that's where you would focus, even if it's the least impressive of all the engineering schools. The passing of the Moral Land Grants Act, which I know you were like, well, not interested in this. I've always thought this was interesting. This came out in July of 1862, where Pugh was presented the opportunity to help the school out. And I never really understood how this worked. But basically, this act, this land grant act thing, bequeathed upon the institute 30,000 acres for each senator or representative of the institution's state. So basically what happened is Pennsylvania got all of this land that it was allowed to sell and take the profits and use it for whatever. And somehow Pugh managed to wrangle up all of this land. So all of the profits from selling this land went to Penn State to help develop the academy.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sadly, though, in April of 1864, he died of typhoid. So that was kind of a setback for the college.
That sounds like a bad way to die.
Yeah. So following him, in 1865, John Fraser showed up. He was a professor of mathematics at the university. And actually, I lived on Fraser Street my senior year of college. Right across the way is the high school football field, which is more impressive than a lot of college football fields, which is interesting. So Fraser was all about expanding on this idea of engineering. So he really focused on general sciences, mechanical and civil engineering, metallurgy, things like that, mining. And each one of these had a 4-year curriculum developed for it, which was really ahead of its time. Then moving on into 1882, George Atherton showed up. Atherton is like the biggest street going in and out of Penn State.
Okay.
Created another big engineering part of the program, so really focused there as well. And in between these areas, there were other presidents that would step in and be like, no, not this engineering stuff, and they'd pull back. So along with all of these folks, there were others that would come in and kind of have a setback into this engineering program because it wasn't seen as valuable, right? Philosophy and stuff like that were why you should be going to college. This is just like getting your hands dirty, and who wants that? So anywho, all of this stuff goes on, and eventually Atherton was like, hey, we need to up our game, right? And so he challenged Louis Reber. Reber was the mathematics instructor, and he actually has a Reber building. The mechanical engineering building is named after him. He challenged him to go attend MIT for graduate work in mechanical engineering, and he was sending him there particularly to spy on them, to pay attention to the processes and the procedures and classes that they used for engineering education. So as far as I can tell, going to Penn State is basically like going to MIT. That's
essentially.
That's how I'm seeing it. Anyways, the growing popularity of engineering continued to help with the physical growth of the campus. In 1891, $100,000 more bucks was allotted to build a building completely devoted to engineering. And that was named Maine Engineering because they're very creative. So that's where I stopped with my history, other than for nuclear engineering. Was there any history you wanted to add in there?
No, you kind of nailed it for me.
Okay, so real quick on nuclear engineering, and I just find this funny. So it began at Penn State in 1953.
Hold on, you mean nuclear engineering as a discipline started at Penn State?
Basically, yeah. It
impressive.
Didn't not complete, but it's like one of the first schools to have it. And we're going to get into them getting a nuclear reactor. It was one of the first 2 schools to have a nuclear reactor. So in 53, University President Milton Eisenhower appointed Dean Eric A. Walker gave him $250,000 from a decommissioned coffee shop in the basement of Old Main, which is our main building. $250,000 coffee shop from 1953 to build a nuclear reactor, research reactor on the university, which is still there and active. So again, before I continue, $250,000 in 1953 has to be a heck of a coffee shop, right? So anyways, they start doing all of this stuff. The reactor was dedicated February 22nd of 55, although the uranium fuel was not available until July. And it wasn't possible for the school to get the uranium, right? Somehow, following on meddling in on things on Penn State's behalf, President Dwight D. Eisenhower steps in and says, hey, we got to hook Penn State up with this. So they become the first school, quickly followed after with a small reactor in North Carolina State College, to get this. So let me do some math for you here. Penn State comes up with this nuclear reactor program with this magic money from a coffee shop in the bottom of the building. They have trouble getting it off the ground until the president of the United States decides that it's important enough for him to spend his time to get them the fuel to run their reactor. And why is that? Because, of course, Milton Eisenhower is the baby brother of President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
I just, when you said it earlier, I was like, did he mean? Yeah. Do you know what my biggest problem is that whole story? My biggest problem, James, I think you said one of the dean's names was Eric.
It was Eric.
That doesn't sound like a dean's name.
I'm sorry about that.
Like I think of James Herzing, as the name of a dean, but a dean with the name Eric, like I have friends named Eric and they're not like a dean kind of person.
No. What if the dean's name was Dean?
Dean.
Uh-huh.
That's deep. Whew.
Yeah, I know. Before we move on with anything else about Penn State, getting out of the history and on to everything else people want to know about it, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
Pitt. No?
Pitt Engineering. No, though I have friends that went to Pitt Engineering. We do have some shout outs though.
Who do we got?
First, Nathan D. My name's Nathan, and I found your show recently and have found myself listening to multiple episodes of your podcast each day.
How could
I was
you not?
Curious to know if you have any book suggestions about mechanical engineering for someone brand new to the topic. I'm 29 and not looking for a career. I just want to learn a bit more on my own. Keep up the good work. Well, I told him I don't read.
I don't read either, or I do, but not engineering books for sure. Yeah. I would just listen to more of our podcasts.
Re-listen to the episodes you've already listened to,
because there's nuggets that you just second and third time you listen to them.
Yeah, I suggested To Engineer is Human. It's all about like engineering failures and what people learned about them and blah blah blah. So I thought that sounded kind of interesting. But if any of you have a suggestion for Nathan, write in and we will tell him.
The Unprofessional Engineering Book Club just started.
That is excellent. We're going to get that with our iron rings and everything else. Curtis C is the next one. Love the show. Began listening for a while, or I've been listening for a while. I have a bachelor's degree in music, and I'm now pursuing engineering. I'm starting out as at community college to get an associate's in mechanical, and I'm planning to get my bachelor's in engineering, most likely mechanical at university. Tennessee doesn't have a lot of good engineering schools. I could get into some place in Kentucky. I guess my question is, does it matter at all much where you go to get your degree in the end? Then he suggests we use Patreon, and I like that as well. Give us money, people. So I thought this was a good fitting one. So Luke, I think we've talked about this before, so go ahead and give us your opinion since I already emailed him.
Yeah, so my opinion is And unless you're like the smartest person on the face of the earth, and you can go to like an MIT or a CMU or like one of the top 2 or 3 engineering schools in the world, my suggestion is go somewhere that is going to have your major, make sure it's in state so it doesn't cost you a lot of money. If you can get a scholarship somewhere, take a scholarship. Because I really don't think that companies are like, I only hire people from MIT. Like if you want to get a job at Boeing or you want to get a job at Lockheed Martin, yeah, you might want to go to a better school. But if you think you're just going to work at, just some general firm that then be just a general mechanical engineer, I don't think the school you go to makes that much of a difference personally.
I feel like we gave very similar advice. I said, like, if you're going to try and work at like Oak Ridge, like, sure, since it's Tennessee, right? Sure, maybe they're going to look for MIT. But, and after that first job, I don't know if anyone's ever going to even look at your schooling, your GPA, or anything of the sort. If any of you have any questions for us, want some advice from 2 questionable experts like ourselves, anything of that sort, how about you email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, share. We love the reviews. And as always, you can always ask your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering Podcast.
That's right, you can. All right, Luke, where do you want to head to next?
So I feel like we need to do a little bit of just like the general details of the school if you're done with history.
I'm done.
Right? So thank goodness, I was tired of listening to your voice. So first of all, there are 24 total campuses across the Keystone State, beautiful Pennsylvania. The main campus is what's called University Park, which is, you went to main campus, correct?
Yes, sir.
All 4 years?
Absolutely.
Oh, you definitely were smart in high school then.
We look down on those who didn't. It's fine.
Yeah. And this is in beautiful Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, which Center County, I think, it's in that area-ish.
Penn State College.
It's a big campus.
Big.
So I went on to this calculator, right?
Okay.
So there was, and it showed like all of the different costs for different things. And generally speaking, and I think we said this before, if you're in state, it's about $33,000 a year, including room and board. If you're staying in an on-campus, roughly $33,000. If you are out of state, it's going to be about $50K. Then this is where like I started to think, okay, James is a lot smarter than I give him credit for. So the average GPA required to get into all the other campuses versus the main campus. So all the other campuses, the other 23 campuses, the average GPA is 3.06 to 3.65. And basically at that point, you can kind of choose to get into the campus you want. Mm-hmm. If you want to go to University Park, you have to have a 3.56 to 3.91 in that range, and you get first choice. So what was your GPA your senior year in high school?
I don't know. That was a long time ago, but probably close to that 3.9 something.
Oh my,
category.
I knew. Okay.
Yeah.
So then here's the next one that surprised me. Here's the other one. SAT scores. So if you want to go to any of the 23 campuses, you pretty much can get down to like a 1090. And I don't know, basically, if you spell your name right, you get it like 10,000 or something. I forget what the story is. But if you want to go to University Park, you need to have a minimum of a 1280 to 1450.
Yeah.
And you had over a 1280 on your SATs.
To show what an underachiever I was, or not aspiring to much greatness, I was on the higher end of that spectrum. And
goodness.
I was like, yeah, Penn State's good enough.
What are you doing with your life right now?
Oh, I'm a total failure. I know.
I'm sorry. And then I don't know what an ACT is. I guess that's another generalized test for college entrance. So any other campus you want to go to, the 23 is a 23 to a 30. If you want to go to University Park, you have to have a 29 to 33.
That's impressive.
And basically, if you have these GPAs and you have these SATs and ACT scores, you can choose to go to University Park. So like, for instance, certain engineering programs are available at multiple campuses. If you meet these minimum qualifications, you more than likely will be able to go to University Park. If you're a dum-dum like me, they're going to send you to like Penn State Beaver.
Right. So. Exactly. You're mentioning like living on campus prices and stuff. Fun fact, at least when I went there, all freshmen had to live on campus. So
I think most colleges do that, right? The first year, I think.
But most freshmen are required or end up living in East Halls, which is great because it's right next to Beaver Stadium. So you have all the fun of the home football games, but it's terrible because your nearest class is like a 40-minute walk away. So.
Oh,
good stuff. I did see the undergraduate population I had listed at 76,000, and the student population is 91,004. So a lot of students. What else do you got here?
So I got a bunch of rankings, and then I got some things specifically on the College of Engineering.
Okay, real quick, the retention and graduation rate, 93% of students stay for a second year at Penn State, which is really impressive. That's one of the best in the country when it comes to freshman retention, because once you're there, why would you possibly want to leave Happy Valley? Nationwide, the average first year to second year retention rate is 69%. So 93% is just crazy town, right? Engineering program at Penn State awarded 1,881 bachelor degrees from 2018 to 2019, which was the last time they polled. About 77% of these degrees went to men and another 23% went to women. Majority of the students are white males. About 64% of the 2019 graduates were in this category. So before we get into the rankings, how much people make when they graduate, and anything else there, maybe it's time to take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
So here's my rant, James. It's a sad world sometimes, right?
It is.
You know, we're coming out of a pandemic, hopefully coming out of a pandemic. All kinds of crazy nonsense is happening. And you know that I don't have cable, right? So I basically get like 4 channels, and they're all news channels, unfortunately. And do you know what what all there is on the news is the absolute saddest, like shootings and murders and cases going up and cases going down. And I feel like the news should have equal positive reporting. So if you do 10 things in a 1-hour newscast, 5 of them should be good and 5 of them can be just the craziness that is our world.
Normally I tune you out, Luke. This is an excellent idea.
My goodness. It is so like and then I change the channel and I go to the other news channel, and then it's like they have worse things than the other one. And then I go, and it is so like if you watch the news, no wonder like depression and suicide and all these other kind of crazy things are, going on in the world. So I challenge, and I'm sure tons of people in the news media listen to our podcast, but I challenge them to put more positive reporting out there in each and every newscast. And if you happen to be struggling with depression or anything else like that, make sure that you reach out to someone and talk to someone, because it isn't really as bad as you think it is, folks. They just make you feel that way in the news.
Well done, Luke. I appreciate that. Thank you. Moving on to the cheery side of engineering.
Cheery side?
I don't know. I got nothing. What do you want to talk about? Rankings?
So let's talk about were you to do anything on the College of Engineering in particular? Because I have a couple of stats about that.
Let's hear it.
So Penn State has a very specific College of Engineering, and there are 14 undergraduate majors total, which surprised me. I thought there'd be more. They have 55 graduate degree programs. Would you ever go back for a graduate for anything engineering?
Oh,
good.
Heck no.
Yeah, neither would I. And there's currently 12,000 students at all 24 campuses currently enrolled in engineering programs throughout all of the campuses. So here's a breakdown. I'm not going to do each and every one. So these 4-year engineering degrees, I'm going to ask you University Park only or others. You ready? Civil engineering, University Park, or you can do it at others.
Others, I assume.
Yeah, you can do it at Harrisburg as well. Computer engineering, University Park only or others?
We'll go only.
Nope, you can do it up in Erie. Here's one that really surprised me. Energy engineering.
That sounds made up. That sounds like only Penn State, Maine.
Yep, you got that one. Here's one near and dear to our heart, mechanical engineering.
You have to do that other places.
Yeah, so you can actually do that at Berks, Erie, Harrisburg,
like anywhere on the street.
You can do it from the south side. Yeah. But who wants to say that they got their mechanical engineering degree from Berks campus?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I'm with you.
Not all of us get to go to University Park. And the last one, this is going to be software engineering.
We're going to say multiple places.
Actually,
only Penn State, Maine?
It's at Erie in a world campus. It's not at the main campus.
So I know back in the day, they talked about making Erie the engineering campus. So we're already reclusive enough. Now they're going to squirrel us away in nasty old Erie. But that is the only place that you could do plastics engineering at Penn State. You couldn't do it at the university campus.
So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like there's like 14 of them that you can do at Erie or University Park. So Erie is definitely one of the probably bigger engineering campuses.
This is true. The rankings of the programs, Luke, very cool stuff.
It's pretty crazy.
So if you go to the website, the Penn State engineering website, you can see the full rankings. But some of my favorites, aerospace, I had a friend in that major, 17th in undergrad and 15th in graduate. Biological, number 6 overall in the country. So agriculture / biological engineering, number 6 with all those cows, doesn't surprise me. Civil engineering, if you want to go look at dirt, 13th, that's pretty good at dirt looking. Industrial engineering, which my brother graduated for with undergrad and master's, number 6, very impressive.
That's pretty good.
Materials, number 10, and mechanical, which is what I went for, would be number 15. I did make a big deal about the nuclear engineering program. I was going to dual major in it, and they laughed and said, don't bother. They don't actually rank that one for undergraduate. So I think it's such a specialized thing that not enough campuses or universities really have it.
Okay. This is a test.
Go ahead.
What is the only, this is not just engineering. What is the only thing that they are number 1 in the United States for? There's only, from what I could tell on their rankings, there's only one there's only one that they are number 1. There's a lot of number 2s and a lot of number 3s, but
it's
from what I can tell,
it's something else.
It's not an engineering program. It is geology.
Geology. Okay.
What did you think it was?
Meteorology. They have a really good meteorology school.
Let me see. Meteorology, I think, is number 3 in the United States, which is pretty good.
Geology. That's interesting.
Yes, geology, number 1. That's very interesting.
I was looking at the number of students enrolled in each of these majors, which is kind of interesting. Aerospace, 274, 12% female. Biological, 96 people enrolled, but biomedical engineering, which was very new, right when I started there, they just started that program, 203, but 51.2% is female, which is awesome to hear. Let's see here. On the high side, computer science, 710, civil engineering, 403, mechanical engineering, 661 with a 15.7% female population. It was significantly lower than that back in 2000. And then there is apparently survey engineering, which is apparently a thing. They have one person in survey engineering.
Well, you can only do that at the Wilkes-Barre campus.
Oh, okay.
It's only one campus. Could you imagine being like the professor? Like it's just like there's one kid sitting in your class.
Just sits in your classroom the whole day.
Oh, goodness.
That's very interesting. I know Duquesne, they just started that. I think they started biomedical, if I
They
remember
did.
correctly.
Well,
And they had a
they
very
were
small
yeah,
class.
they were. I think they were supposed to start, and then it got pushed back. But I think they're. I do think it's starting. So, um,
Yeah,
we'll see if my daughter goes there.
there you go. Let's
So
see. Go
I
ahead.
got a whole bunch of fun facts, and that's all I got left. So if there was something else you wanted to get to before I just, and
Let
they're
me
good fun facts.
let me bust through a few things real quick. Like faculty, 310 on the tenure track, 58 on the non-tenure, 84 lectures, research facility, etc.
The tenure, non-tenure, that basically
Uh-huh.
means you can be a bad teacher and not get fired if you have tenure, right? What's the
Yeah,
like? What's the,
basically.
essentially like
I
you've been there
think
long enough, and it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah, and I think you are often the people that are really focused on research then, and you're
Okay,
like, I'll go teach this class because I have to, but really I'm just here for the research.
gotcha. Okay.
Growth rates of research back in 2016, 17, it was 124 million. Last year it was up to 153 million. So, that means better facilities, better training, all of that stuff. So they're getting tons of money. Then the pay, if you're looking for an internship and you're at Penn State, if you're in aerospace, you're getting about $24 an hour at your internship.
Not
Computer
bad.
engineering, about 26. Same with comp sci. If you're mechanical, you're looking at about $21, $22 per hour, which really hasn't gone up a whole lot since I did mine.
Or you
So
could just
that's
work at
nice to hear.
Amazon at a shipping facility and make about the same.
Not get so much experience though, Luke, because that's when your salary comes into play when you graduate. Aerospace is
Oh,
looking at about an average from Penn State graduates of 71,000.
that's not bad to start.
Chemical engineers are almost 74,000. Not bad to start. That's like double what I started at, I think. Computer science starts at 99,000, which is
Wow.
crazy town. Mechanical starting at almost 75,000. So really strong performance there. I only have some last part for me is famous alumni. Should I do that before your fun facts or after?
Let's do it after. We'll end on the alumni because that's probably a good
Okay.
one. So this is just a whole bunch, and I want you to kind of give a head nod or a yes or no to whether you knew this.
Okay.
The Penn State is the #2 university in the world for producing CEOs. I was shocked by that.
I think it's just a sheer numbers game at that point.
Yeah, it is. Because the next fun fact, there's 740,000 living alumni worldwide.
I'm an exclusive person.
You're in a very exclusive club. They have 29 athletic teams that range all the way from, I think they have a football team, right?
Yeah, a small one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. All the way down to field hockey as well. Their annual research expenditure, which I think is a different number than what you said. This is how much they spend in research, is over, just a little bit over, it's $1.01 billion in expenditures. Wow. They are the number 11 school in the country for partying. Obviously, they didn't do this whenever you were there because it would have been a little bit higher. Tulane University in New Orleans is actually #1. That makes sense. When you go to the creamery, you are forbidden from mixing flavors. The only person that has ever done it and not been sent to the back of the line is Bill Clinton.
Oh, I guess they can get away with it when you're president.
The Lion Shrine is the second most photographed site in all of Pennsylvania. So everybody jumping in front of the.
Do you know what number
lion.
1 is?
I don't know what number 1 is. Probably, I don't know, Heinz Field. Beaver Stadium has a capacity of 107,000 people.
So
107,232. That's ridiculous. 1 out of every 117 Americans with a degree have gone to Penn State. Their mascot before it became whatever a Nittany Lion is was this poor mule called Old Coley.
Old Coley, I did know that.
And they are the proud participants, whatever it's called, a thon. It's the largest student-run philanthropy organization in the world, with thousands of volunteers that go somewhere and they dance for like days, and I guess they get sponsors for how long they dance until like they fall over and pass out. They've raised over $137 million to fight cancer.
Yeah, Yeah, that's one of the rare good things that sororities and fraternities do. So good for them. You'll see them canning on the streets here in Pittsburgh. They'll travel out here and like beg for money and stuff. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's
what
really
that's who it is asking. I didn't realize that's who it was.
really a good cause. And shockingly, just another reason for Penn Staters to go party. So also very good stuff there. But good job, Thon. That's a good call out. I missed that one. Yeah, I had some reasons to go to Penn State, but really you covered them all already. We have, the football scene's pretty good, not to mention the wrestling team is like unparalleled. Hockey is super good now. Women's volleyball and basketball, always top ranked. College town, that means the townies hate you, but you get to run the joint. So that's cool. The creamery, just amazing. They have tons of cows if you're into that. And I mean, I went there, so what else would you really need to do? But a few famous folks. So engineers, Stephen Larowski, PhD in chemical engineering, former chemical engineer on the Manhattan Project, and participant in the Atoms for Peace program. Let's see here. We had another dude here, Lee Stroll Gammer, part of the Manhattan Project and part of the Apollo and Space Shuttle programs. Russell H. Herman Jr., chemical engineer, CEO of Essos. So check out our episode on Exxon and ExxonMobil. Another guy, Paul Weitz Jr., aerospace engineer, Navy test pilot, NASA astronaut, and was on the maiden flight of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Guion, Guion Bluford, aerospace engineer, Air Force colonel, former NASA astronaut, and the first African-American in space. Richard T. James, inventor of the Slinky. So that's a pretty good claim to fame. And then a couple others that you might know of. Keegan Michael Key, not an engineer, but he's the comedian from Key and Peele.
Oh, yeah.
Franco Harris, Herman Fisher, so known as one half of the Fisher-Price duo, graduated from Penn State. Laura Spencer, she's a broadcast journalist. She's on Good Morning America, Flea Market Flip, big Penn Stater. And then, fun fact, the Hulk, Bruce Banner, started out at Harvard University, but transferred to good old Penn State University in the comic books. So take that, Ivy League jerks.
I have three more. I think I read that the Ben and Jerry's guys, they went to Penn State.
Oh,
at least one of them did. I'm not sure if they both did. They said they perfected their ice cream making with the creamery. Apparently they were.
I do believe you're right.
And then this other person, James T. Herzing, famous Pittsburgher and podcaster, I think is another alum that I think a lot of people probably heard of.
I might be up there as one of the most influential engineers to graduate from Penn State, at least in the last 20 years.
At least.
What do you think? Awesome. No. Well, hopefully everybody liked our first episode of Great Universities or Great Engineering Universities. If you did, let us know. If you didn't, well, keep it to yourself. But no, just let us know that as well. Go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. And until next time,
see ya.